Coping with Tre Tailor, giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life, because we'll always be coping with something. Coping.
I'm Tre Tailor, and thank you so much for watching Coping, hosted by me, Tre Tailor. We're streaming live on the Tailor Made production page on Facebook. Please go over there, hit like and share and follow. Find out when we go live Wednesday for Wellness Wednesday from In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council, and also on Thursday and Friday. We're streaming live on our YouTube channel. Also, there you can find about 3 years of content, interviews, and information to help you cope. We're giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life, because we'll always be coping with something. We also have a presence on Instagram and also on Twitter. Hey, don't forget that scrolling at the bottom of the screen, you'll see all types of information about COVID testing, vaccinations, and several pieces of financial information also. So please post and share so we can get the message to the masses. If you've got a question, we'd love to hear from you. We've got the comment section and we can answer your question immediately. Today, we are dealing with sickle cell, and Veesha Jamison joins us. The sickle cell account manager with the American Red Cross became an avid leader and supporter in the sickle cell arena after her son was diagnosed with the condition. Since 2010, she's worked tirelessly to spread awareness and works with other moms, sickle cell warriors, advocacy partners, medical professionals, and community organizers. Veesha and her son have made an impression nationally, being featured on CBS Evening News and Good Morning America. Hey, Veesha, thank you so much for joining us today. Great seeing you again. You're on mute.
Same here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. So let's start from the beginning. For those who may not know, just tell us a brief kind of, overview of what sickle cell is.
Absolutely. Sickle cell disease is a disorder of the red blood cells. It affects over 100,000 Americans, mostly of the Black or African American community. And notice I said predominantly, but not exclusively, because anyone of any race or ethnicity can actually have sickle cell disease. But those with sickle cell actually form distorted shaped red blood cells that are shaped like a sickle, the farming tool, and they're hard, rigid, and sticky, and they don't flow as easily through the bloodstream. Sometimes those cells can get trapped, and those entrapments cause excruciating pain crises. So a lot of times hospital patients, or patients in general, are hospitalized for sometimes days, weeks, or months at a time due to those pain crises.
Wow. So tell me, when are you diagnosed with sickle cell, and is it hereditary?
It is absolutely hereditary, and that diagnosis usually happens typically shortly following birth through our newborn screening. And it is hereditary. So 2 parents who have the sickle cell trait, with each individual pregnancy, there's a 25% chance that that child can be born with sickle cell disease.
Right. Okay. And then you say now kids are diagnosed at birth, right? So
Yes,
that's
ma'am. Now it is required for each state to do the newborn screening process, and sickle cell is actually one of the tests that is on that blood panel.
So when you were tested for sickle cell as a baby, what are the steps that happen next? What do parents need to be aware of?
That is a great question. So typically when a child is diagnosed with sickle cell disease, the parents are usually notified. Once they are notified, they will be invited, and this varies per state, but typically what happens is they're connected to some sort of foundation in the area so that they can also get that knowledge and education. They get specialized sessions from their pediatric provider, and they are connected from that point with different specialists to ensure that their child gets the care that they need.
Right. Veesha Jamison joins us. She is a sickle cell account manager with the American Red Cross and an avid leader and supporter in the sickle cell arena. Today, we are coping with sickle cell. So after a child is diagnosed and the parents are notified, what happens next? Do they immediately start on medication? And is that a lifelong process?
Typically, and it's on a case-by-case basis, so it varies per family and per provider. So usually that child is put on some sort of antibiotics to help keep down infections, and any other particular medicines that that doctor feel at that time that may be beneficial. And of course, like I said, it varies per family as well, because some, they don't believe in medications or they prefer natural treatments. So it's on a case by case basis. But that child typically is followed by, pediatric in pediatric care, and also by some specialists to ensure that they are getting the best care.
Yeah. Veesha, are you able to talk about any of those natural remedies or medications that people may use?
Um, I prefer not to. Just,
Okay. That's
I'm
fine.
not one. I'm not the expert in that category.
Yeah, yeah, it's okay. So, of course, we have heard or know, some may not realize that patients who have sickle cell have excruciating pain.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The pain is the hallmark of this disease, and that pain, I tell you, it is something to watch a patient in pain. Um, I've asked some before, how can they describe it? And the closest that they can describe it is just like somebody punching you with all of their might, just constantly over and over and
And it's
over
all
again.
over your body.
This pain can occur anywhere where blood flows throughout your body.
Right,
So if you
because
can
the blood,
imagine.
yeah, the
Mhm.
blood is having a hard
Exactly.
time getting through, and that's what the pain comes from, right?
Exactly. Exactly. You've got it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And is it daily? Does it just come arbitrarily?
It's on a case by case basis. Some patients do report being in some level of pain every single day. Some patients, they have episodic moments. It just depends on the particular person. And what they're experiencing. So I know some of our older patients, they say that whether it's a level 2 pain or level 10 pain, they experience some degree of pain every single day.
Yeah. And so then does that mean pain medication is given all the time?
That means based on that particular person's preference, and whatever plan that they have with their doctor. um, there are times where I know just personally where my son has to have pain medicine on in those times. Yes.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, because you do have a 10-year-old son. How is a child able to manage through school and all types of activities that kids have to and want to if they're in such pain, and or being treated for pain? Because oftentimes pain medication puts you to sleep or makes you groggy.
Absolutely. Trey, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it is a challenge. It is indeed a challenge, because it's kind of like a domino effect, right? They're in pain. You give them the pain medicine to help the pain, but then sometimes it does make them drowsy. For my son, sometimes he is limited to certain activities that may be considered normal boy activities, like playing sports. You have to be super careful. We have to make sure that he's hydrated all the time, and that he's not playing or being pushed to the point of exertion.
Mm,
And sometimes that can be a challenge because boys just want to be boys. When you
yeah.
talk about being in school, sometimes he's hospitalized or he is in a high level of pain that he cannot attend school. So we have to work very closely with the teachers, the faculty and staff at his particular school to ensure that he gets what he needs, and is able to stay on track.
Yeah, Veesha Jamison joins us. She's with the American Red Cross and uses her experience, as she just said, with her 10-year-old son to build long term partnerships and raise awareness about the importance of blood donation in the Black and African American communities. She's joining us today on Coping. I'm Tre Tailor, and we're coping with sickle cell disease. And Veesha, let's talk a little bit about the importance of certain blood types to help Uh, children and adults who are dealing with sickle cell.
Absolutely. So we need all types, right? Because we just never know when our patients may need a life saving transfusion. We do have that type O, that is more needed. Our A negative and B negatives are our most common, or our most needed blood types. But like I said, we need them all. Our patients with sickle cell, they require a specific type of blood that has certain antigens present. And you know, our most compatible match comes from those of the same race or ethnicity. We have over 600 antigens present on our blood, and statistics say that 1 in 3 Black or African American donors are a match for a patient with sickle cell. So that's why we encourage all of us, but those especially in our diverse communities, to come out and donate.
Yeah, because if you have sickle cell, you need someone who, like you said, is close to your ethnic background. What about family members? Can they donate?
Family members can donate, and a lot of times, I see this happen in those critical moments. They've never been donors before, but when their loved one needs it, they'll say, okay, I'll donate. So I encourage people to be proactive versus reactive, because what people don't realize is that, like I said, you not only have to be the right match, but there's also specific antigens that need to be present that, ensures that they get the most closely related match so that they don't have a reaction. So, and that blood also has to be tested, and all of these things and processed before it is actually given to the recipient. So we want to get it done on the front end, right? We don't want to have to be in
Right.
such a critical moment and then, say we'll donate and then still not have what we need for our loved one.
Veesha, can someone with sickle cell donate?
No, ma'am. Patients with sickle cell cannot donate.
Okay.
Number one is it's just a kind of a I won't say a threat, but it's just not great for them physically, for their health. Number one,
Right, right.
and that's just that wouldn't be beneficial.
Why do sickle cell patients need blood transfusions?
Right now, there's not a universal cure for sickle cell disease, so blood transfusions are used as a method of treatment. Those patients receive episodic treatments. And then we also have patients who receive blood exchanges on a monthly basis. Some of them who are at higher risk for stroke and produce a higher level of those sickle shaped cells, they need to have these exchanges done on a monthly basis. So this is why blood donation is extremely important, because someone, with sickle cell can use up to 100 units of blood per year. That is a large number, and
Yeah.
that's why we need those in our communities to come out and donate.
Deborah Abraham says, great job, cousin Veesha. She says she loves someone with sickle cell. Hey, Deborah, thank you so much for joining us and us shouting out Veesha. Please post and share this information so we can get the message to the masses. What are the stats? Do we, most of us know someone with sickle cell, but may not know that they have it?
That is a great question, Trey. We more than likely we do. I come across people every day, and either they know someone who lives daily with sickle cell, or they remember someone who has sickle cell or had sickle cell and may have passed from complications of the disease. There are also a lot of patients who do live in silence. They don't let it be known. And so, I've had that experience myself. I've gone to high school or come across people that I've had interactions with for the longest time and didn't know that they had sickle cell because they didn't choose to share.
Yeah. Are there resources, either whether through the Sickle Cell Foundation or the American Red Cross, to help patients through mentally, physically, emotional challenges that they may have?
Absolutely. So with the American Red Cross, we actually have a full sickle cell initiative. And that initiative, is kind of what I represent. And we seek to educate our communities, create that awareness, talk about the importance of blood transfusions, and also partnering with other organizations in the community to host blood drives to help those with sickle cell disease. There are also other resources. We work very closely with the James R. Clark Memorial Sickle Cell Foundation. We have those foundations throughout the state. We have the Orangeburg Area Sickle Cell Anemia Foundation. We have the Lavinia Barksdale Sickle Cell Foundation in Spartanburg. And then there's also Cobra that is in the Charleston area. So they actually have tons of resources available for our patients. There are other advocacy groups, such as the Be Strong group here in Columbia,
Yeah.
who are great community partners. We are a parent advocacy group, so that is absolutely the network that we seek to create for those who need resources in those times. And sometimes, if you need just that support, that's
Yeah.
what these groups are here for.
So, Veesha, there is a need, as you said, for African American blood donors. How can people donate? And what
You
do they
can
do?
definitely donate. There's the website. Head on over to redcrossblood.org. You can key in your zip code and find a blood drive anywhere near you. Our donation center is also on Bull Street at 2751 Bull Street. You can walk into there and donate as well. If you are unable to donate, we also encourage you to host blood drives. Think about any of those outlets or any organizations that you may be a part of that would love to partner and host a blood drive. Sometimes we think if we can't do a thing, then that's the end of the road, but that's not necessarily the case. We ask you always to think of other alternatives. So I work very closely with our local churches, our fraternities and sororities, other health organizations as well, to host blood drives, and that helps us get out into the community to share about sickle cell disease, but also to pull in those blood donors. And if you are currently a blood donor, let's say that you donate maybe once a year, we encourage you to increase your frequency, right? You can donate whole blood up to 6 times per year. So consider that as well, donating more often if you are already a donor.
Awesome. What are some other ways that friends and family and even coworkers can help and support those who are experiencing sickle cell anemia?
Oh, that is a great question. Sometimes it's the small things, right? Just an encouraging word, a text message, or a phone call to say, "Hey, what do you need?" Sometimes people, with sickle cell, sometimes they kind of go into a shell. Sometimes, especially when they're experiencing those pain crises.
Yeah.
But just sometimes a small word of encouragement can help. Just take them a meal every now and then, just little things, maybe a grocery store run. It's like I said, it's the small things that truly count. And just knowing that there is someone there who they can lean on or they can talk to, or who, may consider them in their most critical times is so special.
Yeah. Veesha, I want to ask you a couple more questions before we let you go.
Sure.
Um, does it get worse as you get older?
Um, it varies by patient. I've heard some, in both ways. Some people say that, they had more critical times the older they got, and some said it got easier the older they got because they learned to manage.
Right.
So those type of things, it's never a solid answer because it definitely varies per patient.
Yeah. Should people who are considering childbirth get to, I mean, I guess, I guess if you have it, but is it advantageous to go to your doctor to get tested prior to planning for a child?
Absolutely. I always encourage everyone to know your status. Knowing your trait status is just as important as knowing any other status, right?
Okay.
So, prior to 1987, it was not a requirement for all 50 states. So people born before that time may or may not know whether they're carriers of the trait. So I
Right.
would absolutely encourage anyone who does not know their trait status to definitely, get tested. And I always say this, we love our ancestors, we love them dearly, but let's not rely on, what our family members say. I've come across things like that doesn't run in our family, or
Right.
we don't have that in our family. That is all good and fine, and it may very well be true, but we would love for you to get tested so that you know for sure, because you may be the one in your
Right.
family who has sickle cell trait.
Right. And like you said, you may not know.
Mhm.
You may not know. And that's the
You may
thing.
not know.
So is that a simple blood test?
That is a simple blood test. It's a finger prick, guys. It's not, anything. And also, let me just mention that when you donate blood, the American Red Cross right now is actually screening anyone who self-identifies as Black or African American. You will get a notification if you are a carrier of sickle cell trait. So that is another great benefit of donating blood as well.
Right. So head on over to the Red Cross website and find out how and when and where you can not only be a donor, but as Veesha said, find out if you have the trait. So before you start planning or not planning to have a child, you at least know, what your situation is. Deborah Abraham said, give a parent or a caregiver a day off. Be a friend of someone with sickle cell. Hey, thank you, Deborah, for your comments. Veesha, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for your advocacy. I mean, look, you work at the Red Cross, but you also are in the trenches, because you have a son that has sickle cell. So you're so supportive and such an advocate of those who have sickle cell and their families and supporters. So thank you so much for joining us today on Coping and for sharing this great information. We appreciate you, girl.
Thank you. And thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
It's always a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to see you too. So listen, if you want more information about the American Red Cross or sickle cell, we can see some information on the screen. Make sure you find out if you have the trait. So listen, if you have a product or service that could help someone cope with COVID, please email booking@copingwithtretailor.com. We would love for you to be on a show. If you have a story or initiative, if you have a product or service that could help someone cope, please email copingwithtretailor@gmail.com. We would love for you to be a proud sponsor. Just like In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council, they sponsor Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with Tre Tailor. Also, Javis Financial Services. We want to send a huge condolence for prayers and peace of mind to Kadena Javis and her family and the loss of their mother. Our prayers go out to you, lady. Also, the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office, Attorney Byron Gibson, Palmetto Media Connections, Black Pages, Black Expo, the Comet Bus System, Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall, and also Agape Counseling and Training Services. Today, Jesus says this: take time to be still in my presence. The more hassled you feed, the more you need this sacred space of communion with me. Breathe slowly and deeply. Relax in my holy presence while my face shines upon you. This is how you receive my peace, which I always want to provide for you. Imagine the pain I feel when my children tie themselves up in anxious knots, ignoring my gift of peace. I died a criminal's death to secure this blessing for you. Receive it gratefully. Hide in your heart. My peace is an inner treasure growing within you as a trust in me. Therefore, circumstances can't touch it. Be still, enjoying peace in my presence. That's your Jesus calling for today. Hey, until the next time, I wish you peace and abundant blessings. Take care, stay well, God bless. And if you are going to be out and about in an enclosed area with a lot of people, please don't forget to wear your mask over your nose and under your chin. We'll see you soon.
Coping, find peace of mind to survive through whatever. Coping, learning the way that we thrive all together. Coping, finding out what's real. Coping, we can heal, we can heal, we can heal. Coping with stress, coping with strife, bringing hope for success, for improving our life. Coping beyond hoping to do more than survive, ways to live a healthy life. Coping and promoting, learning what you can do, 6 ways to a better you. Coping, find peace of mind to survive